Dub balls.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us tonight, folks. As I always say, and I truly mean this, I appreciate you tuning in.
I think you might take those words back by the time I'm done, Balls. I really do.
So, I make this next statement with a heavy heart, and not to be sensationalistic, but to be real, and to stress the importance of what's happening in our country under the Biden regime.
So basically, the duly elected government of America is the same as, Afghanistan or Iran or Saudi Arabia or North Korea, according to Dan Balls. And, he says that with a heavy heart and an equally heavy paycheck.
Here's the statement, plain and simple. The future of our nation is on the line, period. I truly and firmly believe that statement. Each and every day, there's a new twist in the unraveling of the greatest nation.
Yeah, that's there is one thing. Where is it? There was something today that happened, and I was like, man. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. This is, I don't know how Republicans are going to recover from this. There goes America. Must be rough, Danny Bowles.
It's rewriting our history, creating a false race war, stripping away our energy independence, teaching...
Stripping away our energy independence? Is that what they're doing? Okay.
Racist CRT curriculum to our children, skyrocketing inflation, and a weakened military.
Well, not skyrocketing. It's like 5.7%. And they're currently concerned about deflation once the supply chain starts speeding up again. That's the issue. And especially if we move a bunch of stuff closer to home, it's going to shorten that and lower the prices even more.
I could go on and on, but I'm sure you get the...
Yeah, no, we get it. You are reading a series of bumper stickers that you hope come true because you hate America. Got it.
Things are bad, folks. No matter what's happening in your bubble, in your universe, to prove otherwise.
Yes, no matter how much if you walk around and it seems like there's people at the airport. It seems like there's people at the mall. It seems like there's people at your office. It seems like your paycheck's getting bigger. It seems like you have a child income tax credit that's helping you pay for childcare and other stuff. It seems like you can get a loan easier to start a small business. No matter what that seems like, you need to know the world is actually collapsing.
We as conservatives and the American way of life is under attack. Now, I say all of this.
Well, also, you're not a conservative. Just saying.
As every single liberal Democrat that we can keep or kick out of office is a win, and a win for America. Not just a win for conservatives, but for the nation. And
by the way, the reason he's saying that is because Trump has been attacking the rhinos nonstop. And because of that, nobody's showing up to vote. That their turnout is shit.
Into that. We're just a day away from Virginia's gubernatorial race between Republican Glenn Youngkin and Democrat Terry McAuliffe. Nationwide, Americans have been watching this race over the past few weeks.
The fast few weeks? Yes, these last few weeks have seemed faster than most.
Intensely. Why? Well, because many believe that depending...
Yeah. Did you think there was going to be a clip there, asshole?
What happens in this race tomorrow? It could pave the way for what is to come in the 2022 midterms.
Why? I'll wait.
Could you imagine if Youngkin were to win? This would send...
James Black says, current supply chain is the new norm. Yeah, it's pretty close. It will take time to write it and turn it into something, bring it home. So you're absolutely right. And people are going to be getting out of China over the next 2 years. They've already started the process and it will escalate. And as you do that, it's going to change the pathway. It's going to change how easy it is to get stuff and where. Amazon, a good portion of what's on Amazon comes through Alibaba. That reliance is going to go away. It's going to move to other sources. Drop shipping won't be as easy.
Shockwaves throughout the Democrat Party. Oh, wouldn't that be sweet? Now, we know that Democrats, many of them, play dirty.
How How you doing, Balls?
The anti-Trumpers, those individuals that will do anything to win an election. Well,
Yeah, why would you do anything to win an election when you can just lose and claim you won? Right, Dan? It's so much, the Trump way is so much better.
we have an example of doing anything to win, and this time it didn't come from Democrats, but it came from alleged, and I say that, alleged, it came from Republicans against Mr. Youngkin. Put up the headline. Forbes, Lincoln Project, you know who those jerks are. The Lincoln Project says it planted white supremacist impersonators at an event for Virginia Republican candidate. That's right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Folks, on Friday in Charlottesville, Virginia, you know what?
Yeah, if I were you, I wouldn't vote for Republicans. I don't trust them.
There a few years ago, the Lincoln Project sent actors holding tiki torches, wearing
One of them was black. I thought that was a nice touch.
khakis and white shirts.
Yeah, which honestly, they were wearing golf shirts on those days, not button downs. So, I mean, if you're gonna do it,
To pose as white supremacists. There they are.
yeah. See, they're wearing button downs in the rain. That's dedication.
They went to a Youngkin campaign event,
And they couldn't get the torches to stay lit.
stood by, right there, look at that, stood by his bus, took pictures, and tried to act like they were real supporters and racists supporting Youngkin, so they could then post the images and video online to stir up just 72 hours, 48 hours before a
Or get you to decry that very thing and show that the electorate actually aligns much more with those guys. Yeah.
narrative that white supremacists support Youngkin. See what they're willing to do? Let's talk about these scum of the earth. Let's go back to January when we told
Aren't you alleged? You're not going to put air quotes or anything on it?
you about one of the Lincoln Project's founders, John Weaver. He got booted off the board. Why? Because
Oh, wait, they didn't keep him? He did something bad. So the lesson of this is somebody does something creepy, especially something sexual, and you get rid of them and never see them again. You avoid them. Oh, we're not talking about Trump and Epstein and all that stuff. We're talking about, I see, right.
he had been sending unsolicited sexual messages to young men, teenagers,
Is Greg okay? Have you checked on him?
18, 19, I think even younger. He then got kicked out of the Lincoln Project.
Uh-huh. So Trump has 27 sexual assault allegations against him, and you're never going to shake him? I'm just saying, the Lincoln Project 1, Danny Ball 0.
But that just goes to show you. And they've got a long history of scum that have worked for them. Let's be real.
Let's be real. Real. Let's see. Hold on. You mean like this guy, or no? That's not replying to like some real scum working for him. Let's see. How about, let's see. What's this? Let's see if it's the same dude. Hold on one second. Okay, that's a different guy. Hold on one second. There's that guy. That you don't mean him, do you, Dan? Dan, that's not who you're talking about? Give me a second. Let's see. How about this guy? This is it this guy? This dude right here? Ralph Shorty? Trump campaign chair? You're not talking about him. You're not okay, you're not talking. You mean somebody else. Well, a long line of scumbags. I'm looking. I'm trying. Let's see. Where's this guy? Make sure we. Maybe this guy. Are you talking about this guy? No, you're not. You're not talking about that guy. Let's see. There's got to be. So let's see. Hold on.
Takes you at home for.
Hold on. Let's see if I can find the still on this dude. That's the. Yeah. Yeah, but at least, well, like, yeah, I mean, I don't have time to look up all of them, but we'll see if at least Trump was consistent, right? Right, Danny? Cool. Just let me know if you maybe I'm mistaken about who you're talking about. Go ahead.
Happened this past weekend. So, social media users exposed the Lincoln Project. They were trying to just get away with it. Didn't think anybody would.
Oh, they exposed the Lincoln Project. Oh, like you mean like Rudy Giuliani's witness at let's see, Rudy Giuliani. Just give me a second. Witness for scenes. Maybe. Do you mean? Let's see if this guy kind of. You mean exposed himself like Rudy's voter fraud witness? This that he brought up. This guy right here. I think that's him. Let's see. No thanks. First witness was a convicted sex offender who's been a consistently unsuccessful candidate in New Jersey for several years. First reported by Politico. Let's see. Juliana Brooks served 3 years and 8 months in prison in 1998 after he was convicted on several charges of lewdness, sexual assault, and endangering the welfare of a minor for allegedly exposing himself in front of two girls who were 7 and 11. But that was a long time ago. That was like months. Or how about Rudy Giuliani himself? I mean, what could possibly this just trying to, there you go, just like reaching in, laying down on the, it's not touching her on her ass right there. Like, this business right here. Yeah, this business. Yeah, that's, I mean, what could possibly, but you mean other scumbags. You mean people who do like political stunts, I see.
Anything. Oh no, people saw what was happening and they exposed them. Users on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they got online.
Oh, for the record, I was only bringing up people who work directly with Donald Trump, not just Republicans in general. We could get into the whole like Matt Gaetz, Greenberg business, Joel Greenberg business, but literally, I would run out of time just doing all the people busted for child sex trafficking and porn and all that stuff that have worked directly with Trump or his campaign.
Showed the pics. And they showed them what was going on. They told the American people. One poster put exposed, known as KD_Banks on Twitter. She put a pic up. Look at this. They even made sure it wasn't all white folk. They had.
Yes, we all noticed that from a distance.
A black man pose as well. I mean, this is what they're willing to go to. Another folk on Twitter here, Camden Layton, the finance director for Young Virginia Democrats, posting a pic. So it wasn't just Republicans exposing, there were Democrats out there saying this is wrong. Now, the Lincoln Project, after they got busted, later released a statement on the matter. Here's what part of that statement read. Today's demonstration was our way of reminding Virginians what happened in Charlottesville 4 years ago, the Republican Party's embrace of those values and Glenn Youngkin's failure to condemn it.
Yes, we know, Dan, you're a humorless asshole, and you took it as like they were proposing that these guys were all showing up there. The inclusion of a black guy clearly would have pointed out the fact that this was a staged event to draw attention to something, that it was a political stunt. But we'll just let you be slow.
The Youngkin campaign is Enraged by our
Thank you, Andy.
reminder of
Thank you,
Charlottesville for
Vanessa.
one simple reason. Glenn Youngkin wants Virginians to forget that he is a Donald Trump candidate. We will continue to hold Glenn Youngkin accountable if he will denounce Trump's assertion that the Charlottesville rioters possessed very fine qualities. Will withdraw the tiki torches. Until then, we'll be back. Okay, leave that up for a second. First of all, that's not why you did it. You were staging it to make people believe that Youngkin had white supremacy.
Well, no, you're a gullible sap, and you're afraid that Trump voters are gullible saps because they're gullible saps, so this worried you.
Supporters, and you got busted. So you switched gears and tried to act like, oh, we were just doing this to...
Shit! Who let the black guy in the line? This blows our entire plan. Guys, pay attention to the Slack feed.
Folks, what happened in Charlottesville.
942 people in the chat. Say hi. Pass the show around. Give a thumbs up and a thanks and a like and all that kind of stuff. And become a member and a Patreon and super chat and support the show. I never ask as much as I should, and it's crazy. 7 minutes to the Virginia polls
BS
closed.
Statement that all the media's been using, which has been debunked because we've seen the 37 seconds after President Trump said very fine people on both sides. You're still using that false claim. So Lincoln Project, do yourself...
Well, what they want to back out on is the idea that he was like the guys who were marching who said Jews will not replace us. That's terrible. And of course we stand against that. But there were some very good people who want the statue of Robert E. Lee to stay up. And they're very good people. Let's see. Let's see if I can, because the idea is, let's see if I can find this. The idea is that the Confederacy was just about states' rights, right? That's what it was. I mean, these are just people with proud heritage. This isn't about racism or even slavery or these people were fighting for Southern states' rights, and they want that heritage to stand. So, let's see. Let's see if I can do. Let's see if I can get this order. Oh, the new constitution. So this is just after. Let's see, guys. Just scroll through the guys. So, just in case you were wondering, and if anybody bugs you about this in the future, which comes up a lot, that it was just about states' rights, it wasn't really about slavery, and Lincoln wasn't really fighting to end slavery, and the founding fathers were all pro-slavery, and really the Confederacy in many ways was kind of the same, as it was really just a fight over monetary policy and states' rights. This is a statement from Alexander Stephens on slavery of the Confederate Constitution. So the Confederates started their own constitution, in contrast to the American Constitution. And one of their problems was that the new Constitution here. The new Constitution, which is theirs, by the way, has put at rest forever all the agitating questions relating to our popular institutions, African slavery as it exists among us, the proper status of the Negro in our form of civilization. This was the immediate cause of the late rupture and present revolution. Jefferson, in his forecast, had anticipated this. As the rock on which the old Union would split, he was right. That was conjecture with him, is now realized as fact. But whether he fully comprehended the great truth upon which the rock stood and stands may be doubted. The prevailing ideas entertained by him and most of the leading statesmen at the time, formation of the old Constitution, that's the one we live under, our Constitution, were that the enslavement of the African was in violation of the laws of nature. The original Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the one that everybody talks about, 2/3 of a person, and everybody who did it was a slave owner, and how the Confederates viewed the original Constitution as the seed that would eventually grow to the fact where people would become free. And this is why they formed their own Constitution, and this is why there was a Confederacy. 100% go fuck yourself. That it was wrong in principle, socially, morally, and politically. That's right. This is the words of Jefferson and his concern and his realization that at some point they were going to have to right this wrong, and this moral injustice would have to be undone to live up to the total standards that they were writing down. And the Confederacy, so all this bullshit about it was just states' rights, and there was just some proud people who wanted to live, you know, when they just separate but equal or some bullshit for them, was nonsense. This is, they regarded this, and if you look at the writings of Jefferson around the time, and the fact that he tried to end the transatlantic slave trade unsuccessfully on several occasions, writing bills that were knocked down. It was just like, it was an ongoing thing with him. The prevailing ideas entertained by him and most of the leading statesmen of the time of the formation of the old Constitution were that the enslavement of the African was in violation of the laws of nature, that it was wrong in principle, socially, morally, and politically. It was an evil they knew not well how to deal with, but the general opinion of the men of that day was that somehow or other, in the order of providence, under the guidance of God, the institution would be evanescent and pass away. This idea, though not incorporated in the Constitution, was the prevailing idea at the time. The Constitution, it is true, secured every essential guarantee to the institution while it should last, and hence no argument can be justly used against the constitutional guarantees thus secured because of the common sentiment of the day. Those ideas, however, were fundamentally wrong. They rested upon the assumption of the equality of the races. The original Constitution. This is the vice president of the Confederacy saying this. This was in error. It was a sandy foundation, and the idea of government built upon it. When the storm came and the wind blew it, it fell. When the wind blew, it fell. Our new government, this is the Confederacy, very fine people. Remember this. Our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite of ideas. Exactly the opposite ideas. Its foundations are laid. Its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man. That slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and moral condition. Fuck you, fine people on both sides. Piss off with that nonsense. Jefferson, Washington, some of the ones who had slaves at the time were concerned if they freed their slaves, they would just be sucked up by these assholes and in worse situation. There was no way to get rid of it wholly at that time. Then the Brits finally acquiesced to what the Americans were talking about, and it was the Brits that ended up stopping the transatlantic slave trade over time, and the Confederacy was not having it. This is the basis of the entire Confederacy. And the fight was about the fact that they knew this document is a speech by Alexander Stevens on slavery and the Confederate Constitution in 1861. This is the vice president of the Confederacy. I'm so fucking amazed people don't know more about this stuff. But, I mean, this whole, like, I've been thinking about this stuff since the whole, like, they're very fine people on both sides. Shut the fuck up. It is Alexander Stevens on slavery and the Confederate Constitution. Just, I mean, consider this for a minute. Because I don't know that many people, like, everybody's like, they're going to teach slavery in the... You know what they're going to have to teach when they teach... You know why they don't want you to teach slavery in school? You know why these people don't want you to teach slavery in school? Because it codifies the fact that the Union and the original Constitution were actually the seat of equality of human beings and races, and eventually would lead, and it was literally full of poison pills that would eventually end slavery. And the Confederacy specifically attacked the Union because of it. So this idea that there's some very fine people on this, and it's just Southern heritage, man. piss off. The new Constitution, this is the Confederate Constitution, right here. Hold on, let me see if I can blow this shit up for you. The new Constitution has put at rest forever all the agitating questions relating to our peculiar institutions, African slavery as it exists among us, meaning the southern states, the proper status of the Negro in our form of civilization. This is how the South and the Confederacy viewed slavery and what the war was about. This was the immediate cause of the late rupture and present revolution. This is why we're doing it. This is 1861. This is the Confederacy of, where we go. 1861 is the letter. Jefferson in his forecast had anticipated this. As the rock upon which the Union would split, he was right. What was conjecture with him is now realized a fact, but whether he fully comprehended the great truth upon which the rock stood and stands may be doubted. Our new government is founded, they rested, understand this, the Constitution of the United States, that holy, terrible document that refers to Indians as savages and people as 2/3 of a person and all that kind of stuff, was full of seeds written, because not everybody, including John Adams, Sam Adams, didn't have slaves, and they were at war with it. Ben Franklin was the head of the abolitionist organization, spoke fervently about it, and they were at war about it, but they couldn't work it out because they were dealing with trying to keep those folks on their side while they fought the crown. So there was this juggle of we'll deal with it later. When the seeds of getting rid of it were in the Constitution, because all men are created equal, and they knew whatever they believed about other races, they knew they were humans. They wanted to disregard that in the South, but they knew it. So they rested upon, and this is the belief at the time. This is what they thought. This is what the people knew they thought. Those ideas, however, were fundamentally wrong. They rested upon the assumption of the equality of the races. This was an error. It was a sandy foundation, and the idea of a government built upon it, when the storm came and the wind blew, it fell, meaning that eventually the tide would turn and people would look at the people among them and go, this is wrong. Our new government, is founded upon exactly the opposite ideas. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and moral condition. Look at this shit right here. Applause. So anybody who's telling you that when Trump said there's some very fine people on either side, and he's referring to people who are supporting this. So I'm done. All right, here we go.
Favor, all of you on that board, stop calling yourself Republicans, and you can kiss my you-know-what. That's how I feel about this.
No one knows what your you-know-what is, Dan. You're going to have to show your next guest.
This is ridiculous. It's disgusting. This is what we've reduced. Well, we haven't reduced ourselves to, but this is what's happening to politics. And yes, within the Republican Party. They call themselves Republicans. There are Republicans that support and have donated to the Lincoln Project. I know someone who's never.
Thank you, this old stone.
Donated to the Lincoln Project, and she joins me now to sound off on these disgusting tactics. Georgia Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Hey.
Yes, Georgia Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Congresswoman, how you doing? Jeff?
He did call her Congresswoman the second time, so it's good.
Dan, I had a great weekend, except my Braves didn't win the World Series last night, but I'm hoping they pull it off this week.
I saw you there, and the president was there. You guys were doing your time.
Jesus Christ. Some very fine people.
Hatchet thing, which, are you still allowed to do that in 2021?
What is she doing with her hand? There's this weird kind of angle to it.
Or, oh my God,
yeah,
is that racist too? Are we allowed to do that?
We chop.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that we're allowed to still do that. Anyway, when you heard this news.
No, it's gross. Fuck it.
because I heard it, I want to say, early Saturday morning. I wake up to Lincoln Project stages with tiki torches. And then their lame excuse, oh, no, we were trying to make a point. No. You were trying to.
Well, if they were trying to, they would have had all white guys, one would think. They would know that.
Make it appear like white supremacists were out supporting Youngkin at a campaign stop. You got busted by some of your own, and now you're backtracking. This is disgusting that we've come to this, where people who say they're Republicans are doing this to a Republican candidate.
See, I'm sorry, I just can't attack them when they attack Republicans. We just kind of have to let it ride.
They're not Republicans. I'm sick and tired of these people and the pedophiles over at the Lincoln Project. I reject them from our party. And you know what?
Do you reject Matt Gaetz, though? You're still touring around with him. I mean, he's facing a charge of child sex trafficking for bringing a 17-year-old from Florida to Georgia and applying her with drugs to have sex with her. I mean, they kicked that person out of the Lincoln Project. And you, after these charges came out, went on tour with Matt Gaetz.
Time to hold these people accountable. They're lying, and that's defamation. I fully take offense to them calling themselves Republicans, and I reject that.
Well, I'm sorry, facts don't care about your feelings.
And we need to stop allowing these people to do this stuff. I mean, look at these cowards standing there lying to the American people.
Yes, we need to cancel them. Lying to these Americans, like, that's not even a dude.
The media helps them out. The media helps broadcast.
There's a woman, there's a black guy. The whole charade is falling apart.
Tricks like this and stupid stunts, and then donors are paying for it. And these are so-called Republican donors. We don't want those donors in our party, and we're sick and tired of it. So it's time for the GOP to get our act together and reject these Republicans, because you know what? They're just making us look bad, and they're not part of.
Well, they honestly, you don't need any help.
Party, and they're not part of us anyways.
Yeah, no kidding. And if you have
next thing you know, they'll have a bunch of people doing that same thing, dressed all similarly on the steps of the Capitol, with a full diaper and a homemade gallows.
Independents or weak-kneed Republican voters out there who might be still deciding what to do in that.
Yeah, stupid Republican voters. Boo.
In Virginia or in the midterms or for the presidential come a few years from now. That kind of garbage backed by an organization who claims to be Republicans is not going to help us with those folks. So I think you're doing the right thing.
No, the only thing that will help is Marjorie Taylor Greene being as loud as possible, talking to as many people as possible all the time. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Newsmax, if you really give a shit, give her own show for free, because obviously there's some sort of, campaign finance issues or whatever. You just have it'd be a contribution in kind, but hi Jude, you gotta let her just make her the mascot. Hi, I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene, and this is Danny Ball.
More Republicans need to do the right thing.
That was his head, not one of his balls. I just want to be sure that people understood that.
Get out there, denounce, and throw them under the damn bus. Because what the Lincoln Project has done within the party to cause unrest and divide is sickening. And then to see this.
Well, I mean, at least they didn't have a bunch of people charge the steps on January 6th and storm the building that's right behind her and take a shit inside and smear it on the walls and steal things and try to sell a laptop to Russia and build a gallows and walk around saying hang Mike Pence. And apparently someone with a very odd gait dropped 2 pipe bombs. Luckily, they were made by a complete asshat, so they didn't go off. So. Is there a Karnacki cam? Is that what you're asking for? Hold on one second. Let me see if. That's going to be. Let's see. We're going to that? We'll see. Hold on. I'm bringing it up. I am trying to see if I can get it. If it doesn't eat up all my. It's going to be an ad for a minute. Give me a second. Let's see if something comes up.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Dan, we need to throw out the grifters and the rhinos, all of them. They need to go. We don't want them in our Republican Party anymore.
No,
Well,
we do not. Y'all, like, absolutely not. Throw them under the bus and back over them, and then go back again, and then give them a, obviously medical help if they need it or whatever for legal reasons. And then boo, and then yell at them and call them monsters and anti-American and Chinese. Call them Chinese, even if they're not Chinese. And then say Russia hoax a bunch of times. And yeah, don't vote for Republicans, Dan.
This Friday, Kinzinger says...
Do I call you Lieutenant Dan?
Running again, so... Good thing, right? That's a happy thing. All right, we have so much more to talk about, you and I. Real quick here, I just, we had to do...
Yeah, so much more we have to talk about. Real quick.
Project. Let's talk about Texas and what's happening today. We had on Ken Paxton, the AG, on Friday. He was getting his suit shined up and ready to go to stand in front of the highest court in the land today and defend the Texas heartbeat bill. What are you hearing? How's that going? I know these are always...
Wasn't a heartbeat bill. It was a allow people outside of Texas to sue Texans for carrying out their legally provided rights by the Constitution, and it could be applied to gun laws, so knock yourself the fuck out.
Closed, so we have no idea until days or weeks later.
Well, they were asking questions today, and actually the audio was live. I was watching it on my flight to D.C. this morning.
You were watching the audio?
So I caught a little bit of it. They were asking questions, asking them to defend their position with the...
Really? Is that how these things normally go? That's weird. They were asking questions and asking them to defend their positions. That's fun. That is... Is that normally a Supreme... Is that special for this circumstance?
Texas abortion law. Other than that, I haven't heard a whole lot, but I think that the Texas abortion law is fantastic. Anything we can do to end abortion is the best thing that...
Yeah, especially taking guns away from everyone. Because honestly, what is a gun but a portable abortion machine, right, Marge? I mean, what does it do? It ends a life prematurely, before its natural end. Now you're thinking, yeah, but that's different. This person is trying to rob me or kill me. Well, this bill has no exceptions for the life of the mother, so the mother doesn't have the option to abort a fetus that will take her life. So why would you be able to abort a human being who wants to take your life? You just got to die. Take one for the team, I guess. Is that how it works? And then, of course, if they're going to, if you can't afford to have another child, or you can't afford the medical bills of a pregnancy right now, and therefore you have one so you could have, the idea is that in the future, when you want to have a child, that you have an abortion for that reason, then that would be the equivalent of shooting someone just because they're robbing you at gunpoint. Can't do that either. I mean, it's basically the same thing. You're making a financial decision, Marge. You are. So, yeah, you're murdering someone in the 273rd trimester. That's right. So, and obviously the death penalty's got to go because that's an abortion machine. So you can't, abort a life. Because one of the biggest problems you guys were saying was that there's gonna, that the law allows you to, or Democrats want you to be able to abort a child right up to the second it's born, which is fucking lunacy. But you guys want to be able to shoot people anyways. 1,000 people in the chat. What's up? See what happens when I read from the Articles of Confederacy? Yeah, no more wars, too, obviously. The Bible says, thou shalt not kill. There's no subsection A dealing with a stranger who's breaking into your house. You just got to turn the other cheek and let him have your shit. Judeo-Christian and whatnot.
Can be doing as a nation, and God bless Texas for passing that law, and let's hope that the Supreme Court upholds it and doesn't knock it down.
Yeah, well,
so it creates a standard in the state that applies to anything that can take someone's life. Cars, for example, like if there's a chance at all, like if you strike someone with your car, obviously not only should you go to jail no matter what reason you had for doing it, accidentally, you have to prove it was an accident, and it's hard to prove a negative, you know what I mean? So, and even if you did it accidentally or you did it because it meant you had to crash into this thing to save your family in the car. Otherwise, you're going to hit a semi head on. And so someone else was killed. Obviously, anyone, and anybody outside of Texas can sue you in state court for murder because you jumped a curb.
Too, that they're not hearing the argument of the constitutionality of it, but they're hearing more of how.
Yes, because of precedent, because it will apply to all laws, not just that law. And this is stupid, so they're going to knock it down.
It's being instituted, how a regular citizen can sue someone for up to the 10 grand. So I think this could end.
No, not up to 10 grand, dipshit. Starting at 10 grand, automatic 10 grand if they don't answer the charge. Which, by the way, lock up the courts in Texas. Knock yourself the fuck out. It's going to be terrible. Other people who end up getting, funding that part of it, but it's going to cost the states more than $10,000 per trial for all of these things. So, I mean, I recommend anybody who's had an abortion or is thinking about getting one, sue yourself under a pseudonym from another state. And then sue the state for making you pay this person $10,000. So you make for that and damages. So you get $20,000 out of the gig.
Pretty well for Texans, and then set a precedent for the nation. Because I know other states, your state, Mississippi, others are thinking about enacting similar heartbeat bills at maybe 12 weeks, 10 weeks. So I know it's happening. Let's move on to
Georgia
another one.
has
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we have one in Georgia. We have a heartbeat bill. And so these laws are extremely important. And we have to remember to always protect state rights. And I believe that that's why this case is so important.
Now here's.
Yeah, states' rights, like the Confederacy was fighting for.
Sent me into a tizzy on Friday, and I see people posting about it, and I mean, the memes out.
You do not want to see Dan Balls in a tizzy.
They're comparing things just infuriate me, and I'm sure millions of Americans. So, military members who are killed in the line of duty, the amount of cash that their family gets after they're killed, the Boston Marathon bombing incident, the folks, what they received after their folks were killed by a terrorist. All these things are less than, I'm saying this, folks, to lead up, so they're like, what's Dan talking about? The Biden administration is toying with giving $450,000 to illegal immigrant family members who were separated at the border, but only during 18 and 19 under President Trump, even though when he took over, families were separated in 2020, but only give.
No, they were not. They were not separated in that regard. There was a process in place. What they're talking about are the families where their children were disappeared because they're suing. And because of federal law, they might get a few million each. So you settle at 450 and bye-bye. That's that, and they're basically they're cleaning up Trump's mess.
450,000. Your thoughts on this asinine idea? It's not in effect yet, folks. Don't get too mad, but they're toying with 400.
Yeah, get only as mad as Marge.
And 50 grand. So in some.
JFK has not landed in Texas yet. We do have people on the ground watching. They're there with a big catcher's mitt.
They could get almost $1 million of our money.
Joe Biden has
John.
turned his back on the American people, and we watch it at press conference all the time. But now with this new ridiculous idea to give.
We watch it at press conference all the time. What?
Illegals $450,000 for illegally entering our country under President Trump.
Well, they're not getting paid for that. They're getting paid for the fact that we disappeared their children, and it was child abuse. And there was no situation in place to reunite the people, and no care was taken about that. That's what really happened there. It's kind of a crucial part of the law.
He might as well punch every American right in the face and punch.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, though. Can we start with your friends?
Military members who lost a loved one while serving our country. They only get $100,000 when they lose a loved one. But yet here comes President Biden paying out.
Yeah, but they agreed to fight on behalf of the country, and they were injured. They also get, other benefits because they were their family of military. But this, you do realize these people their children were stolen. And they're going to sue and probably get 3 to 5 million. And so they're trying to think, and maybe we can just give them a smaller number and deal with it because we didn't do it. Trump did it.
Reparations. That's what this is. Reparations to illegals that have broken in our country, and then it will be over $1 million for family units. I think this is such an outrage. He should be impeached. I keep saying it over and over again, Dan.
I know.
Yeah, but nobody cares.
Impeach Joe Biden.
Well, look, twofold. You wouldn't have been separated from your children if you didn't come here illegally, if you'd have followed the process, like millions upon millions upon millions of Americans who've done it for the last 200 friggin' years. So that's one. That's on you. And
Yeah, so fuck you. Just because we stole your kid and trafficked your child and got rid of them and dumped them in Mexico without supervision, because fuck them.
Some of these folks truly have an asylum issue. They're running away and fearing religious persecution in their countries. I get that. That's number one. Number two, we know that people game the system. And if we don't separate to ensure they are real family members, you can have kids being brought over by cartel members. So you...
Right, but you track those kids and track the people that brought them in so that once you figure out if it's for real, you can reunite them instead of losing 800 of them. Instead of dumping 8,800 minors in Mexico with no adult supervision. Like, get off the fucking bus, toddler.
Have to separate then to ensure these people belong, these kids, to these people. So there's so much more there when you just go, oh.
Right, that's actually what you're getting sued for. They're not going to, it has nothing to do with the fact they entered the country illegally. It has nothing to do with the fact that you could have deported them as a unit. Nothing at all. It has to do with the fact that when they came in, you decided to turn them into unaccompanied minors, separate the adults and the children, never even bother to do the work to keep them tracked, and then losing the fucking kids.
Pay out 450 grand for people separated back in 18 and 19. That's asinine. That's disgusting, insane. Got to get this one from you, too. Because
are they going to win a lawsuit if they do it? That's what that's about. That's why they're talking about it. What are the chances they're going to win a lawsuit against the U.S. government? Would it be for a lot more money? Is this a mitigatory payment to try and balance the fact that Trump would have cost us $10 million a kid, and the Biden administration is like, here's $450. Please leave.
It was kind of unprecedented. I want to roll a soundbite. Democrat Senator Joe Manchin holds a press conference. We've never seen Joe do this and come out and talk about the
fuck are you talking about? He holds press conferences all the time.
This reconciliation and infrastructure bill today. I want to roll it and then get your thoughts on the back.
Oh, what was Hal's apparatus called? It was like a giant magnet that Trump could have used to get every nut and screw and bolt out of Afghanistan. I forget. What did I say?
Go ahead.
Compromise is not good enough for a lot of my colleagues in Congress. It's all or nothing. And their position doesn't seem to change unless we agree to everything. Enough is enough. It's time our elected leaders in Washington, all of us, stop playing games with the needs of the American people and holding a critical infrastructure bill hostage. While there's opportunity in the reconciliation bill that we can all agree on.
I mean, I don't agree with Joe on everything because he's a Democrat, but whoa, I give him...
Well, see, that's why the Democratic Party is a functioning party, because within the walls of the Democratic establishment, you have everything from the most left and the most functional conservative. You know, not off the deep end, but a genuine belief about that kind of stuff. And you can meet in the middle and actually have an argument. Whereas the Republicans, of course, are led by this lunatic.
I mean, he's standing up to Senate and House Democrats better than some of the old dinosaurs in your party in the Senate. You know which ones I'm talking about.
Right, they're called rhinosaurs, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, what you just saw from Senator Manchin is he's standing up to the squad. You know, I think there's some of these Democrats that are sick and tired of being pushed around by these so-called progressives. I call them communists, Dan, and they're drawing the line in the sand.
You go get them, girl.
And they're saying, okay, let's go ahead and vote on this infrastructure bill. But I'm going to lay it out there. I'm voting no on that infrastructure bill because that's a scam. It's a lie. Less than 10% of it is actual infrastructure.
Huh. Let's see. This would be... legislative text of the, yeah, here we go. Read the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Okay, let's do that, shall we? Let's try this. There you go. Let's see. What's in here, shall we? Authorization of appropriations, obligation ceiling, definitions, appropriation, National Highway Performance Program. That would, I think, qualify as, that's one, how many percents are we doing here? Federal share payable, emergency relief, rail highway grade crossings, surface transportation block grant program, nationally significant freight and highway projects, highway safety improvement program, federal lands transportation program, federal lands access program, national highway freight program, congestion mitigation air quality improvement program, the Alaska Highway, toll roads, bridges, tunnels, and ferries, bridge investment program. I think we're well over 10% at this point. You lying piece of shit. Bridge investment programs, safe routes to school, highway use tax evasion projects, construction of ferry boats and ferry terminal facilities, vulnerable road user research, wildlife crossing safety, consolidation programs, GAO report, you got to pay for that, territorial and Puerto Rico highway program, nationally significant federal lands and tribal projects program, tribal high priority projects program, standards by which they are, public transportation, that sounds like infrastructure to me. Reservation of certain funds, rural surface transportation grant program, bicycle transportation, pedestrian walkways. Get out of the way. Recreation trails program, updates to manual or uniform traffic control devices, transportation planning, fiscal constraint on long-range transportation plans, state human capital plans, prioritization process pilot program, travel demand data and modeling, increased safe and accessible transportation options, codification of federal decision, work zone process reviews, transportation, all the shit that goes into when you do this stuff, alternative contracting methods, flexibility for projects, this is how you pay for it and how it gets through the funds and all that kind of stuff. All those projects beforehand, this is how you actually get them all in there. National Environmental Policy Act of 1969 reporting program, it's still in there. It's just like they're reauthorizing stuff that they slap in there. Surface Transportation Project Delivery Program, written agreements. State assumption of responsibility of categorical exclusions, which is, you know, what they do versus what we do as far as the federal government goes. Early utility relocation prior to transportation project environmental review. Annual report, grants for charging and fueling infrastructure, reduction of truck emissions at port facilities, carbon reduction program, congestion relief program. This is all dealing with infrastructure and how it affects the environment and how over time it will mitigate the rising waters and yada yada. Promoting resilient operation for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation, the PROTECT program, Healthy Streets program, additional deposits into the Highway Trust Fund, stopping threats on pedestrians, so they make sure that people will use the sidewalks because they won't get run over. Transfer and sale of toll credits, how they use to pay for it when tolls are used to pay for these things. This is clearly more than 10%, but let's see. Research, technology, and education. Strategic innovation for revenue collection, national motor vehicle per mile user fee pilot. Performance management data support program, data integration pilot program, emergency technology research pilot program, research and technology development and deployment, workforce development training and education for people to do trucks and whatever, working on roads and stuff, wildlife vehicle collision research. This is always, as you have these roads going someplace, you want cars to be going on them all the time instead of getting hung up in the same fucking place all the time. There's Indian Affairs related stuff. There's multimodal and freight transportation. Here's rail grants to Amtrak, federal rail. This is all fucking infrastructure. Passenger rail, railway crossings, motor carrier safety, authorization appropriations, motor carrier safety, combating human trafficking, mobilizing grant program, because you got these vehicles coming through and you got to check all these vehicles, and to keep shipment trucks coming through all the time, you got to have a system in place to check to make sure they're not bringing through a bunch of shit. People and drugs and whatever. Highway and motor vehicle safety stuff. This is recall, completions, authorization, appropriations. These are all the secondary stuff that's in there all the time. Motor vehicle seat back safety standards. Because again, every time somebody has a wreck and somebody dies, and unnecessarily especially, it slows traffic, and that affects infrastructure. That affects like productivity across the fucking country. Same reason you have DUI laws in here. Research and innovation on how to make it better. Intelligent Transportation Systems Program Advisory Committee. A Smart Community Resource Center. Federal support for local decision-making. Bureau of Transportation Statistics. This is so that when people put together how to get their traffic lights better timed and what's better for the city versus the rural areas and all the electric vehicle working group, risk and system resilience. Now, most of this stuff isn't where the funding goes. These are just in here to direct where the funding goes. Hazardous material, how you transport it, where, general provisions. Sport, fish, restoration, and recreational boat safety. Because again, if somebody dies in the fucking lake and they're dredging this dumbass out of there, nobody else can go fishing. Energy, grid infrastructure, and resiliency. This would be electrical grid infrastructure. It's fucking awesome, this bill. Exactly. Supply chains for clean energy technologies. Earth Mapping Resources Initiative. So where are we going to get all these rare earth minerals, and can we get many of them from here, and can we get them from areas where we're not running our cars on fucking blood diamonds, basically. National Cooperative Geological Mapping Programs. This is all the stuff that they further fund that we have to do to have a functioning government and all these situations. Rare earth elements demonstration facility. How does it work? Critical material supply chains and reliability. This is so that you start building these cars, you don't have to stop because we ran out of whatever the fuck they're making out of. So this, all right. Fuels and technology infrastructure investments. See that word right there, Marge? That shows up a lot. Hydropower, nuclear energy infrastructure. That's right, kids. We're going to have more nukes. Get used to the idea. Technology's come a long way. France is almost entirely run on nuke right now. Enabling energy infrastructure investment and data collection. Okay, so you can get all the stuff and you can coordinate it. Energy efficiency and building infrastructure. So that if you're building new buildings and they affect your downtown corridor and the energy usage there, you can maximize it. Energy efficiency revolving loan capitalization grant program. So if you want to build an energy efficient building, you can get a grant or a loan, and it saves us all money later because you're not using energy that we don't need to give to you because you already got it. Smart manufacturing. Schools and nonprofits, grants for energy efficiency improvements and renewable energy improvements for public school facilities so that we don't have to use all this electricity. We can put fucking solar panels on the top of a school, and most of the year we'll pay for the heating and the HVAC. So what was it again, dummy? Did she what was it? What was the whole thing, idiot? 10%?
Democrats better than some of the old dinosaurs in your party in the Senate. You know which ones I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, what you just saw from Senator Manchin is he's standing up to the squad. You know, I think there's some of these Democrats that are sick and tired of being pushed around by these so-called progressives. I call them communistan, and they're drawing the line in the sand, and they're saying, okay, let's go ahead and vote on this infrastructure bill. But I'm going to lay it out there. I'm voting no on that infrastructure bill because that's a scam. It's a lie. Less than 10% of it is actual infrastructure.
Okay, less than 10% is actual infrastructure. Let's go back to it for a second. Authorization of appropriations for energy storage demonstration projects, mineral security projects, carbon capture demonstration pilot programs, water power projects, renewable energy projects, industrial emissions demonstration projects. This is to get us moving faster on this technology. All of it infrastructure. Wage rate requirements for their work stuff. That's all in there. This is going to be drinking water and wastewater infrastructure. Drinking water. One would think that we give a shit about drinking water in this country. Pipes, how they get to you, where it gets through, filtration systems, the processing plants themselves. That would qualify. Clean water. Yeah, there you go. There's another one. Broadband. Now, this is the part that she thinks is bullshit, but everybody wants. This is what is making this bill pass more than anything else. Division F, broadband. Broadband grants for states, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and territories. And these states, by the way, the states that are getting the grants for it, it ain't California. It ain't New York. I mean, they'll get some probably for their more rural areas, but vast portions of those states already have broadband, already have this available to them. It's for red states who lagged behind everybody else, have shitty internet, and guess what? The rest of the country is going to pick up the slack. So you can, treat your citizens like shit, make them drag technologically behind everybody else, and then California, New York, Washington State, Texas and Florida will pay for everybody. Tribal connectivity, this is adding that thing, connecting them into the web in the same way. The Digital Equity Act of 2021, which is basically the fold in of this to make sure that low income areas have better internet. Enabling middle mile broadband infrastructure, broadband affordability, which is access will basically do that, and making sure that people that get the contracts can't, even though they're getting a contract to build it in a low income area and they're getting a premium to do it, they can't charge a higher rate later and price everybody out of the fucking available infrastructure addition. Wildfire mitigation. Remember that whole thing about why don't you clean up these forests? That's what that is. Yeah. No, notice all the roads that get shut down when fire is leaping across it during the wildfire season? Yeah, that'd be one of the things you want to work on. Recycling practices, bioproduct pilot programs, cybersecurity, because if you some asshole can sign in and shut down all your stop lights or your toll bridges or any of that kind of stuff, you're screwed. Public-private partnerships, that's how they're going to build America, buy America. This is the Biden thing, which Trump could have done, but totally blew up. Buy America sourcing requirements, higher than the standard that Trump lowered while he was in president, and even higher than they were previous. Make PPE in America. BuyAmerica.gov, BuyAmerican.gov, creating that site. There you go. Short title, definition, sense of Congress on buying American, assessment of impact of free trade agreements, judicious use of waivers, not overdoing it, establishing a buyamerican.gov website, waiver transparency and streamlining for contracts, comptroller general report, rules of construction, all that stuff. So when you say buy America, you mean it. I mean, but by the way, remember, less than 10% she considers infrastructure. Less than 10%. Other matters, and then it starts. Surface transportation, federal highways, rail, all that shit's in there. They pan it out for the years. Each year gets basically the same thing. They increase it year over year. This is like Territorial and Puerto Rico Highway Program for Puerto Rico. 219 million for 2022, 224 million for 2023, 228 million for 2024, 232.5 for 2025. This is expansion, the expected growing of, it's based on population growth, expectation of improving certain areas. We'll build this part, then we'll build this part. And like, this is fucking so obvious. But by the way, I want to remind you that MTG is a liar and is lying about this bill and is not going to vote for it, even though all of her constituents would benefit from it and want it.
So while Joe Manchin, we're cheering for him for actually standing up to the squad, I'm still saying it's a bunch of baloney. We should not be passing that bill. It's socialism for America, and the reconciliation budget is just more socialism for America.
Yeah, the reconciliation budget is not socialism because it gives you money to buy your own services. Socialism is when the government provides the material places where you go. So if we're using that money, if America was going to build community colleges, hire teachers paid by the federal government to teach everyone, that would be socialism. What we have here is democratic taxation. We have decided that we need a more educated workforce, and therefore adding basically 2 years of optional vocation or community college training after high school is better for the economy as a whole and in our competitiveness as a country against other fucking countries. The other thing too is that a universal pre-K for a year takes a year of the payments that people have to pay to have childcare off their hands, so they don't need to pay into that, so they can use their money in the rest of the economy. And by the way, the money that they're getting to do this, they can spend anywhere they want. Again, the U.S. government, the Biden administration, the federal government, Democrats are not building universal pre-K buildings. They are locally run, just like all the other schools. You'll get to pick one of your choice. These are either added to your public school or they are private institutions. You get a tax credit for going. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. These aren't socialism any more than what fucking Richard Wolff says is socialism.
Green New Deal, phase 1, phase 2. That's what both those bills are. And if any Republican
No, they are not.
and in my party votes for it, I'm going to be looking for their primary opponent, and I will be supporting them against that Republican. No Republican should be voting for the infrastructure bill or the reconciliation.
Yes, please do. Please, God, MTG, please run against any Republican that votes for the infrastructure bill. The reconciliation bill, I totally expect. That's why the Democrats are going to pass it alone. That's why they have to deal with Manchin and Sinema, because we know all the Republicans are off the table. All of them. Everybody else is giving them a pass. I'm not. Fuck them. The fact that we have to deal with what Manchin and Sinema wants, that's democracy. We have to deal with it. It's a pain in the ass, but it's true. But the fact is that the stuff that's in there, when you got 48 out of 50 who are ready to sign on to a bill, and that reflects basically what the public feels about this availability in what's going to be in the ultimate bill, versus what Republicans are doing, which is 0 of them voting for it, even though 68% to 70% of their own constituents believe in it. That would be the very definition of Washington elites voting against the needs and wants of voters.
Budget. That's how serious these bills are,
Hype
and we need to put a stop to it.
Good for you.
Come on, you
I
can do
just
it.
love the fact
Hype
that
train, bits.
Sleepy Joe is asleep literally in meetings overseas while a lead Democrat comes out, has a press conference, and throws his agenda under the bus one more time. It made great television today, and it makes this presidency, this fake presidency, look even more failed because he can't even get folks in his own party to push this radical, liberal, progressive BS agenda.
Well, they're debating it. This is an actual bill. I mean, by the way, please hold the infrastructure bill. If Nancy Pelosi is basically being nice to the Progressive Caucus, because if she brings the bill to the floor, ultimately, it will pass. Especially if McAuliffe loses. Here's the tough part for progressives. If McAuliffe loses, we lose in Jersey or whatever, the idea will be that part of it was caused by the fact that we withheld votes, and it seems like Democrats can't shoot straight, and that's also what they're voting for. And that's going to be part of the narrative. Whether it's true or not, that's going to be the narrative. And progressives are going to take it on the chin. It's going to be because they held up those bills. That's just the reality. And basically, if McAuliffe wins, or if he wins, they might have a little wiggle room depending on how much he wins by, they might have a little wiggle room on the reconciliation bill to push this whole thing a little bit further. If he loses, basically Pelosi could call the infrastructure bill to the floor by the end of the week, and they will all vote for it. Yeah.
Any more forward, thanks to a Joe Manchin and a Sinema. Both of them are stopping this. You know, there should be more Republicans out there doing press conferences and complaining about how screwed up both these spending bills are. Marjorie, thank you so much for what you're doing. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Dan. Keep it up.
Yep, you too.
Thank you.
Take care.
It's nearly impossible to keep it up with you around, Marge.